Thank you for joining us today. Peter Olisander, how are you, man?
I'm fine, thanks. How about you guys? And thanks for having me.
Good. It's a pleasure to have you, man. A pleasure to have you. We're big fans. We've wanted you on for a bit now. I know you've been making a name for yourself, and so has BODYSLAM. Really. I mean, let's delve straight in there before we talk about your journey. The Scandinavian scene, it seems to be making a big name for itself at the moment. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, personally, I am really glad that the Scandinavian wrestling scene is, making waves out there. Not big enough waves for me personally to be, like I want more. I want to make more waves. It's gonna be a tidal wave at some point, right?
Yeah.
I would like for Scandinavian wrestling to be an alternative, if you know what I mean. Like,
Okay.
When I started watching wrestling, I watched WWE, of course, and whenever I grew tired of that, I went to Japan to watch some wrestling. And when I'm tired of Japan, I usually go to the UK, and I would like for #ScandyGrabs to be something like that, a place you can go to when you're tired of whatever's mainstream at the moment, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And as a fan, I mean, that's what we want to see too. Everyone we've spoken to who's part of the scene in Denmark, Sweden, Norway, everybody's saying like how interesting the scene is there. And as a British wrestling fan, I'd be happier if your scene was nothing like ours. I want to come and see Scandinavian and it to be completely different to what I'm used to. I want to see a different wrestling experience. Like you said, there's wrestling in Japan, there's wrestling in the UK, both very different. And hopefully that's where it's going with Scandinavian too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can watch, I can sit in Denmark and I can watch, American wrestling, British wrestling, Japanese wrestling. So I think it's kind of natural that all these different styles, somehow mix up with each other. But what I like about, the Scandinavian scene is that from my experience, it's what I grew up watching. It's the showmanship, it's the storytelling, the good versus bad, and maybe we have this gray character, but it's the storytelling. I'm a huge fan of storytelling. I love it to death.
That's what wrestling is at the end of the day, isn't it? It always comes down to the story. Even if it's good in-ring action, there's still a story told with every move that somebody does. I think that's what we all enjoy about wrestling when we're kids. It's like superheroes, comic books.
Yeah, exactly. And at this point, I'm the villain, and I enjoy being the villain, and I like to wrestle as a villain. I mean, if you watch some of my matches, I'm not the biggest guy in the world, so it's like, to me, it makes sense. As a heel, I like to stomp people that's on the ground, so why don't I just use both feet? I mean, to me, that's a story in itself. That's why I stomp people from the top rope, because it's like, I can't think of a more heelish thing to do.
Where do you take any inspiration from with you being a villain? Is there any villains in popular culture that you've taken inspiration from?
I actually think the inspiration came later. They needed this, and when I say they, I mean BODYSLAM. They approached me after, I think it was a training show-ish, and they said, they needed this religious nut, cult-leading kind of guy. So they asked if that could be something for me. And I was like, yeah, sure, let me try. I mean, I'm going in there, I'm facing, a faced wrestler, and I'm getting my ass whooped. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? So yeah, let me try being this cult leader. And I actually took inspiration from various, cult leaders like Manson, and also probably more Jim Jones, nicely dressed. Yeah. And hair really slicked, well spoken. Didn't quite work for me though, so I started taking more inspiration from Charles Manson, and also later the father from Far Cry 5, I think. If you know him. Yeah. And also Robert De Niro in Cape Fear. I started kind of like taking all these small pieces from guys where I was like, that could be cool, that could be cool, that could be cool, and I tried to put them all into Olisander.
So I mean, you mentioned obviously as well, like you're a fan of the long-term storytelling, which we had Emeritus on the other week, and we talked about long-term storytelling. And I said to him as well, that's what I love about wrestling is long-term storytelling. I think a lot of that is missed in today's wrestling, but BODYSLAM are doing that perfectly. I mean, for example, you and Emeritus, you two had me hooked. I said to him when we spoke to him, just that moment where he grabbed your wrist and turned it, you had me hooked, and I was in. I mean, you guys have got me for life now. What's it like being building that storyline and working with him?
It's been amazing. Like really, it's like water to my mill, because talking, such a long-term story, I really like it. And also you can put in all these small details, even, maybe I can hint something during a promo. Maybe we can, foreshadow something in a match of some kind, leave something that keeps the fans guessing. Also, the big turn we talked, what is the magic number of times where I could screw you over without the crowd getting bored or like you're losing, sympathy? We talked through that many times. And it just ended that, the magic number is 3, I guess. That the third time I tried to screw him over, it's like, no. And I tell you, the hair rose on my arm just when he grabbed my hand, like you said. That moment, we could have stopped it there and that would be perfectly fine, because the pop was like, oh yes, Olisander is going to get decapitated now, right? People really wanted to see that. Didn't quite give him to him. Can't really tell when and where, but I think I'm just as invested in that story as any fan would be, because when we plan stuff, I always try to look at it from a fan's perspective. Like, is this something I would enjoy watching? And I'm not any more special than the guy next to me, so if I enjoy it, they probably will too.
You had me hooked. I mean, I said to Emeritus the other week, that wrist, just that turn of the wrist, I was like, these guys have got me. I'm hooked now. So I
Thank you.
can't wait to see where this goes now, man. You've got me invested big time.
Yeah, okay. We will try not to let you down then, or anybody else let down for that matter.
I know you won't, man. I know you won't. I'm hooked, man. I really am. But going back, I mean, obviously before, BODYSLAM and that. I mean, how did your journey begin? I mean, what was the wrestling scene like in Denmark growing up?
Oh, growing up, I had no idea there was a wrestling scene in Denmark. No idea whatsoever. I mean, I grew up in let's call it small town Denmark, far out. I'm kind of like the hillbilly here, but but no, when I grew up, I had no idea there was a Danish wrestling scene. I had no idea there was anything called wrestling. It was actually thanks to the PlayStation 2 I figured out there was a thing called wrestling. When you bought the PlayStation 2, you had this demo disc, and there was I think it was Just Bring It that was on it as a demo. And I played the game, and I was like, this is cool. I mean, what fantasy, what imagination you need to have to build a fighting game like this. And then later on, Shut Your Mouth came out, and I was like, oh, I know this kind of game, this kind of fighting game. I want to play it a little more, so I bought it. I played it. And when you completed a pay-per-view scenario in the game, you could unlock some video footage or packages. Yeah. So I watched one of those packages, and I was like, holy shit, is this for real? Are people really doing this? Damn, I'm going to look that up. And we had dial-up connection, so it was like, okay, I'm going to go on the internet, and 60 minutes later, I finally came into WWE's homepage, and I was just hooked after that.
So I watched wrestling. I mean, we ask so many times, how people got into wrestling, and usually it's just, I was flicking through the channels, or my parents were watching it. I love that you got into it from a demo disc.
Yeah.
For a PlayStation 2, that's awesome, because I played Just Bring It, Shut Your Mouth, Here Comes the Pain.
Oh yeah.
The amazing games. But I love the idea that you didn't know it was real. You just thought it was a fighting game, and then you found out it was real, and Was your mind blown, when you finally got to see it?
Completely, because it was like, I may have been, looking back, I might have been a little naive, but I remember in the Just Bring It game, the picture of the wrestlers were animated, right? But in Shut Your Mouth, it was real footage or real photos of the wrestlers. I was like, okay, they probably found some bodybuilder type guys, took some picture and modeled some characters after that. But after seeing those video packages, I was like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome. I mean, it is glitter, it's glamour, it's rock and roll, all wrapped into, one thing. It's attitude, it's whiskey women and revolver wearing men. I mean, it was just everything, yeah. And especially with the internet, it was like, it was a whole new world opening up for me. Yeah.
You had me at whiskey and women, dude, but I'm totally with you on that. Yeah.
Did you ever download wrestling? With your old internet connection, your dial-up. If you ever downloaded wrestling, even downloading one match, this is how I discovered TNA back in 2003. I found a TNA match, and it took about 2 weeks to download. But it was the best thing I'd ever seen. I was just watching it going, who is this AJ Styles guy? Who, my mind was blown. Did you find out from any other promotions when you got on the internet, or was it just WWE?
For a long time, it was WWE. For a very long time. I think it was about the time. Was it? Yeah, I believe it was around the time when Kurt Angle left WWE for TNA.
Yeah.
That I was like, okay, there's something else. I thought, after the whole ECW, WCW thing, it was like, okay, there's WWE, and then there's that. But then Kurt Angle left for TNA, and then I started looking, what is TNA? And I started looking into TNA's history. I got to know AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, all those guys. And then I got curious where they came from, because they didn't come from nowhere. They must have been somewhere before, and then Ring of Honor presented itself, started to watch Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and I was like, holy shit, there's so much wrestling. How can I ever follow, like, everything? I wanted to watch everything possible. So yeah, I think it was around that time. Can't remember when that were, but around the time Kurt Angle, left WWE for TNA.
Yeah, I think that was like around 2006, was it? Something like that?
Sounds right, yeah.
Yeah.
On that area, yeah. When did you decide to start training then? Because I know you were training, but is it Son? I have heard of Son. I'm not a whole familiar, but I have heard of the name. What was your training like?
What my training was like?
Yeah.
My training was. Do you mean when I started training wrestling?
Yeah.
Okay. In my backyard on my trampoline, I guess me and my friend almost killed each other. Figuring out this was stupid. Can't be the way it's done. But no, it was in. Oh, Callum, by the way, have I ever downloaded wrestling? Yes, I have. Do you remember BearShare?
Yes, I do.
I was willing to give I was willing to give my computer AIDS just for one wrestling match.
Absolutely, it was that, right?
But yeah, no. Back to the training part. So I had this small group of friends, which I share my interest in wrestling with, and we have always said, that once in our life we're gonna watch a live wrestling show. And at that point, we only knew of WWE on a European tour, and the closest they came to Denmark was Germany. So we always figured, when we're old enough, get driver's license, we take a dude trip, and we're gonna watch some wrestling live. That never happened. So in 2015, I think, December 15 or January 16, never mind. One of my friends writes me, and he writes there is this Danish wrestling show called BODYSLAM Pro Wrestling coming to Aalborg in Skåne, fairly big place, and it's in our backyard. So he said the tickets are cheap, and I mean it's Danish wrestling, so what can we really expect? But hey, nevertheless, it will be a good, pre-party to a fun night out with all the dudes.
Yeah.
So we went and watched the show and I was sold from the very beginning. Like, holy shit, these guys pure heart and soul into this. Fast forward, I figured out there was a place to train in Aalborg. I started there. They have 2 free sessions. So I always thought that if one session shows that wrestling isn't for me, at least I can say that I got this far. I tried it, at least. I tried it. It was fun. Hey, it's 2 sessions, right? Took the second session, and I was just like, where do I sign? So I trained in Aalborg for a while and got introduced to Søren in Aarhus, Al Snow's Wrestling Academy. And from there, it's just like, the training itself is like, well, of course it's physical hard, but I like that Søren takes really good time to explain why do we do the things we do.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like, okay, so you want to train wrestling, now you do some squats, now you do some push-ups, okay, here's a suplex and here's a clothesline. It's like, why do we take the steps we take? Why is it exactly 2 steps before or whatever? Why do we have the hand behind the neck during a body slam? How do you sell? Which way do you sell? How do you feed? All that. It really takes really good time.
The fundamentals of wrestling.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we use, and I think that's the way it should be, use really much time on just doing rolls, for instance.
Yeah.
Rolling. And when you feel you're about to puke, it's like, okay, now you don't need to roll anymore. Just bump instead. Now you bump, now you bump, now you bump, now you bump. And okay, now we start talking psychology. And then, yeah.
Is it weird for you? Like, obviously, you went to this BODYSLAM show, not knowing what to expect, but it blew your mind. You wanted to be a part of it. Now, fast forward, you're, was it a 2-time BODYSLAM champion?
Yes.
Is that weird for you, knowing that this show that you went to on the off chance, now you are a 2-time BODYSLAM champion at that very promotion?
You are the man now.
Yeah, I'm the man. Now,
you are.
It's, I don't know if I would call it weird though, but it is very humbling.
Yeah.
To some degree, and I'm very honored that they wanted to put the title on me and let me run with it, because it came. I started training in 2016, and not not very long after I was in the picture and also held the title. I won it in my hometown, to be honest. So that was a yes. I was and I am very, very honored. And especially when they told me, we're gonna put the title on you again, and I was like, damn, I'm gonna be the first 2-timer. Are you sure about this? And it's like, yeah, you're gonna be champ again. So it's like, damn.
Well,
I'm honored.
You are the man, though. Like you said, you really are the man, and you're kind of the guy who is at the forefront of wrestling in your own country, really. Like, you're one of the premier promotions in your own country. That must be awesome.
Well, yeah, it is, I guess. Well, thank you. It's a very humbling experience, listening to all this, because, as I said, I am from small town Denmark, so I think I'm a very humble guy, or at least I try to be a very humble guy. So it's the first time I kind of hear those words, so thank you very much for saying those words. But yeah, I think honored is the word that describes it the best. I'm very honored, just with everything also that they took me with them to WXW in Germany during the showcase event. I was also very, very humbled by you want to bring me along, okay, shit, now I don't have to drop the ball. Now I just hold it tight and then I just run with it. Don't disappoint him.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. That's my next question. Actually, what was that experience like, getting to work with WXW?
Oh, it was from what we're used to, or from what I'm used to in Denmark, seeing such a big production was, awesome. I mean, they have these big screens, they have like this ramp down, and the cameraman is up in your face as you walk down that ramp. All I could think about walking down that ramp was, don't look at yourself on the big screen. because I think it looks kind of awkward, like looking up all the time. Like that's me on those screens. But yeah, no, it was that whole production was just like overwhelming to some degree. I know I was down there wrestling, but seeing the production at work, like okay, here we got the sound guys, here we got the camera guys. We need to get all this working together. Here's the eagle nest. Is everyone, connected to the eagle's nest? Now we're going to test a whole lot of things. It was just mind-blowing being a part of that.
It was a three-way match that you was in, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So, I know it was Emeritus. Who else was in that match?
Michael Finn.
Right, awesome.
Match of the year, I believe, as well. Was it BODYSLAM match of the year?
That was. Yeah, exactly. That was me and Emeritus versus ETM, Chuck Mambo and TK Kubo, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, actually, as well, because we had Chuck Mambo on last week.
Yeah.
He absolutely loves it. He can't wait to come back out to Denmark. What's it like for you getting to wrestle these guys coming in, like Chuck and TK?
Well, I am honored. But I'm getting kind of used to it. First time I wrestled a foreign guy, I was kind of intimidated by it, to be honest. Because wrestling other Danish guys, we are from everywhere in Denmark, but Denmark is a small country, so we always, have at least some way or can find some day to go through whatever we need to go through. And we can really plan it down to the simplest little detail. But facing a foreign guy, everything can go wrong. Either they're late or plane delayed or whatever. It's like, I think, to give you an example, Chuck Cyrus was my first foreign guy. I was facing, and I was so nervous because this was on the day that we had to plan, a match. So I was just like, holy shit, this is the first time I ever try to plan a match and tell a story with so many open, plot holes in the match. It's like, okay, let's plan the finish. Okay, we're planning the finish. What after that? Maybe a few near falls. Okay, and what after that? I'll see you in the ring. So it's like, fuck, what the hell? What to do now? But he was really good, and he kind of held my hand through it. And then later I faced, other guys. Then came Chris Brooks and Michael Finn versus me and Emeritus, which was this insanely, spot fest. Never tried one of those before, and I was kind of puking, just nervous backstage. I have never went through a match so many times as I did that match, and still when I heard my music hit, and I just forgot everything, or I felt like I forgot everything, and I just want to throw up, and I wanted to leave the building. But I went in, got through. I was damn proud that nothing went wrong in that match. Everything just went smooth. Which leads me back to your question. How was it facing Chuck Mambo and TK Cooper? All these experience, I feel, has dressed me up to, just continuing working with foreign guys. Or maybe even when the pandemic's over, be the foreign guy coming to another place. I'm more comfortable with it. So it's like, if they say they're going to be here an hour before the doors open, the Peter today is like, okay, well, we're going to figure something out. Don't worry. We'll handle it.
Yeah.
But if you ask the Peter at that time, I would have, resigned or retired or whatever. Like, no, I can't do that.
Do you want to be the guy then? Like the guy who comes over, from Denmark, and you are known as like the guy representing Denmark in the other countries? Yeah,
that would be cool. Especially if it's like going there, stay there for a while, go home. And by staying there for a while, I mean not like a year or two. We're talking maybe days. You see, back home I have a little family. I have a wonderful girlfriend, and I have a kid, a little boy, 2 years old. So when people ask me, could I go, for example, living in the United States, living off wrestling, that's a hard question for me to answer, because we have to gonna leave everything.
Yeah.
She has family here, I have family here, we have our own little family here and all that. But I will have no problem, like, if, I don't know, for example, if Riptide called, or I, like sent them, a video, and they were like, yeah, you can come over and, try and wrestle with us, I'll have no problem with that. And my girlfriend, wonderful as she is, also says, if it ever comes, just go over there, get some experience. It could be there, it could be in Germany, it could be in France, whatever. So yeah, I would have no problem being the foreign guy at some point if needed.
Yeah, I'm sure you will do. And like you said, it's understandable if you have family. Family comes first, but you'll make it work. You can come over. We're only like an hour's flight away from the UK. That you can definitely come for a weekend or a few days, and still make a big impression in that time. You could probably get like 4 or 5 shows in that time. After the pandemic. Sure. Yeah.
And if it works out, I would gladly come back if ever needed. Of course.
Yeah.
No doubt. And we also talked about, when the kid gets a little older, and if I ever go to the UK for wrestling, it would be a nice excuse for us as a family to go together and spend a weekend somewhere in there.
I guess you could do that anywhere. Once your child is older, you could say, let's all go to America for a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Or anywhere in the world. So yeah, you do the right thing. Obviously, I'm sure we'd all do the same. Family comes first, but it would be great to see you in the UK after the pandemic, because like you said, Riptide would be awesome to see you there. It's not that far for us. We'd make the journey to Riptide.
Okay, nice.
Absolutely, man. We want to see as much, like, I don't know, I like wrestling from other countries because it is a different experience, like we were saying before, and wrestlers from other countries always bring something different. Yeah. And I think that's what's great about British wrestling at the moment, is we have so much diversity in it. So I think there's definitely, after the pandemic, I think we're going to see more people from Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway come into the UK.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, my primary goal, again, if you ask me when I was 13 or something, it would be WWE. But I would really like, as I said at the beginning, see Scandinavian wrestling grow. That's kind of like my. As I've said before, I can't see my top of the mountain. I don't know where my journey will end, which is probably a good thing, because then I remember to enjoy the view where I am now, instead of just rushing towards something. But personally, I would just like for Scandinavian wrestling to grow, and I would also like to be a part of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like you said, if you enjoy the view on the way, you'll never be disappointed. If this is the top of your mountain, it's a good top of the mountain. You should be proud of everything you've done so far still. I'm sure you've still got plenty left to do, but all the best to you, man. I'm sure we're going to see your name after the pandemic in the UK, in Scandinavia, everywhere.
Oh yeah, hopefully.
And like Callum said as well, now I know you like whiskey. We'll make the journey and we'll have a couple of whiskeys as well.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I'll have a Coke.
Well, maybe you can show me some of the good stuff, because I drink the cheap discount bullshit whiskey. So maybe you got some of the good stuff over there.
Yeah, we've got some good stuff, man.
We're on the top shelf. Me and you will be on the top shelf whiskey.
Sounds awesome. It's going to be one hell of a weekend. I can already tell that.
Before I wrap up and let you go, one last thing. Peter Olisander, Emeritus, what can I expect? Because you've got me hooked, man.
Well, what can you expect? How can I put? You're gonna be in tears. It's gonna be the story of Old Yeller, I guess. Now, hopefully there's gonna be like a lot of feeling put into it. A lot of the showmanship, as we talked about. Lots of stories, a lot of what's it called? Open endings, maybe. Who knows? Is the book really closed, or can this, can the embers be stoked once more? I guess something like that. I guess it's something like that.
There's always another chapter to add to a book, I'm sure.
Yeah,
There's always a bit more to write.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I tell you right now, dude, you've got me hooked. I am invested. I am hooked. I cannot wait to see where it goes. And on that as well, I mean, please come back on at some point in the future. We'd love to get you back, man. This has been so cool.
Yeah, I will enjoy it. Really enjoy that. Really enjoy that. It's been.
I love that your character, like you said, is a dick, a cult leader kind of person. But when we speak to you, you're one of the most humble people we've spoken to. You're really nice to speak to. So definitely need to get you back on, man.
Honestly, I believe it was after if I can end on a short story, it was after a show in Aalborg. I went out to the fans with the title, because it's like, okay, kids would like to hold the title. Let them. If they want to meet Peter Olisander, I can present him to them, but they're gonna meet me, this nice and easygoing guy. But if they ask, I can bring out Olisander, no problem. But there was this kid. He wanted to come over, small kid, but he didn't really dare to because I was dangerous, So his mother was like, "Oh, you can go over there and I will take a picture." And he was like, "No, I don't want to do that." So I went over to the kid, and I remember I sat down on one knee, and then I told him. His mother could hear it, but I told him, "You want to hear a secret?" And he was like, "Yeah, he would like to hear a secret." And then I told him, "Well, when I'm not Peter Olisander, I'm actually a school teacher." And he was like, "Oh, what? Are you a school teacher?" Yeah, so it's like, yeah, I'm just a boring ass school teacher when I'm not in tights. Yeah.
Hey, dude, you'll be surprised how many wrestlers are teachers as their shoot jobs. Like even Hangman Page, Adam Page was a teacher.
No, really?
Before AEW, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, dude.
There you go. It's cool moments like that, dude. It really is. Like I said, before we go as well, tell everybody where they can find you, obviously, your social media.
Yeah, sure. I'm active on Facebook, Peter Olisander. I said active, but don't add me there. Really, I'm not so active there anymore. Instagram, also Peter Olisander, very special name. So you can find me on Peter Olisander there as well. And Twitter, you guessed it, Peter Olisander. Yeah.
Well, dude, we can't thank you enough. I will reach out to you again in a month or so. We'll arrange something to get you back on. We'll get you into the UK and get that top shelf whiskey as well. But
let's do that. That's a deal.
Well, for now, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure. He's Peter Olisander. We are Ringsiders. Thank you so much.